Hello, everybody. So, this is going to be yet another episode of my series of critical hits. So, this is going to be the second episode wherein I'm going to be engaging in free-form debates with ChatGPT, meaning I'm not following any of the formal structures of debate, like the parliamentary structure for debate. Instead, I'm going to do it free-form and I'm just going to counter any of what ChatGPT says with logic and nothing else. I don't have any sources, okay? I'm just going to use my common sense against ChatGPT, and that's basically it, okay? I'm not using any sources. So for anybody who's trying to, if anybody sees this video and they're trying to correct me on the comment section, just take note of that, please. Okay. So let's begin. Okay, so our topic for today will be free speech versus hate speech protections. Okay, protections. What does that mean? Let me just search up what that means. What it means by protection. Freedom of speech. Okay. So freedom of speech is the right to express information ideas without government restriction, retaliation, or censorship. Okay. Hate speech protections versus free speech. Speech versus hate speech protections. Okay. So it's basically like a topic that distinguishes the two. Free speech versus hate speech. Okay. Okay, ChatGPT. So we're going to be debating. Okay. This is going to be a free
Mm-hmm.
form debate. I'm going to be using my logic and common sense against you. And the debate
All right,
topic
let's
will
do
and the
it.
debate topic will be about free speech versus hate speech protections. Okay, you pick a side and I'll pick a
Okay.
side, and I'll just uh, inform you what side I pick. Okay, so first? No.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, just pick a side. Okay, just pick a side.
Mm. All right. I'll take the side favoring strong hate speech protections. I'll argue that robust protections for speech, including some nasty stuff, are essential to prevent governments from sliding into censoring unpopular ideas.
Okay, so my counter argument to that is, okay, if you're if you're going to protect hate speech, okay, if you're going to protect hate speech, why why exactly do you want why exactly do you want people, okay, speaking their mind about, as you said, nasty things?
Mhm. Well, the core reason is that once the state gets power to decide what counts as hateful, that power tends to expand. Protecting even offensive speech can stop authorities from selectively silencing dissent under that excuse.
Wait, there's a false correlation you're doing. There's a false causation you're doing here.
Okay.
You said that basically when governments try to censor other people of these hate speeches, that the
Hmm.
government automatically has a motive to expand their power further than just
Hmm.
censoring those people. I think that's false. Okay,
Hmm.
that's false causation. Okay, so my argument is I think freedom of speech should be protected. Okay, I think freedom of speech should be protected. I think people should have the right to say whatever they want. Okay, to say whatever they want, provided that what they want to say has substance to it. Okay, it has substance and it's going for and it has the objective to reach a greater good. Okay, if you're
Mhm.
if you're only protecting hate speech, okay, just for the sake of hate speech, okay, then why? Okay, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to bring out why do you want to advocate for hate speech when the only thing that could possibly come out of that is um deconstructive? Okay, what it's deconstructive. um I think
Mhm.
the main point of contingency here is that if you're going to advocate for hate speech, there has to be an objective goal that you have to reach. Okay, there has to be some greater good that has to come out of doing it. Okay, because otherwise you're just doing hate speech for the sake of hate speech, and if you're advocating for that, then I think that will be very, for the lack of a better word, stupid.
So I get the concern, but protecting speech doesn't mean endorsing its content. It's more like protecting the open marketplace of ideas. If the government starts banning speech because it's terrible, that same power can easily be turned against minority groups or political dissidents. So it's not about celebrating hate, it's about preventing that overreach.
So you say that it's not about celebrating hate, okay? I never said that. I'm saying that if you're going to advocate for hate speech for the sake of hate speech, you have to have a greater good that you want to reach from. Let me continue. Okay,
Is
so
guarding against.
you're saying that instead of celebrating hate speech, you're just trying to have this right to place their ideas in this marketplace of ideas that you were referring to. I think that is inherently okay. That is inherently
Mhm.
stupid, for lack of a better word. Okay, I'm not trying to be harsh here, but okay. What good do you think will come out of hate
Mhm.
speech? What good do you think can come out of hate speech? You said that the government, just because they're advocating for the protection of hate speech doesn't mean they endorse it. Then what government what good can the government get out of that? Okay, what good can the government get out of protecting people, uh, spewing hate towards each other, towards other people? What good do you think the government can get from that? And on a further note, what good can the citizens who have this right for hate speech get? What benefit can they get from having from having this right to hate speech?
Hmm. I don't think hate speech. Hmm. I mean, fair question, but then every legal standard require judgment calls? We already trust courts and laws to weigh harm, intent, and context in defamation, incitement, or true threats. So why not here too?
Well, first of all, again, you're trying to assume that all the courts, you're assuming that all the courts follow. You're assuming that all of the courts can follow all of this. Okay, okay, that they guarantee the protection
Hmm.
of all people. Okay, so I think that would be false. I think that would be false because some courts do not. they do not they do not consider the context very much, and they base everything off the evidence that they have, the solid objective evidence that they have. So if, let's say, hypothetically speaking, that you were someone who
Uh,
okay, you were someone who has you were doing hate speech, okay, you were engaging in hate speech, you were sent to court, and you were sent to
mm-hmm.
court because of that. Now,
Right.
how would you explain yourself if
Right.
someone had solid objective evidence that they could turn against you, that they could turn against you instead of for you, okay? And how
Mm-hmm.
do you think that the court will
Right.
will uh will justify what you said? Do you think the court will justify what you said, given that what you may have said is what's hate speech you might have given out there is as you would word it, nasty? Do you think? Do you think? Okay, so that's a very
Mm.
wobbly that's a very wobbly argument that you're giving out here. And my argument is, okay,
Huh.
freedom of speech protection
Mm-hmm.
is so much better because freedom of speech, you can say whatever you want,
Mm-hmm.
given that there is a boundary. Okay? Given that there is a boundary of what you can say, there is a limit
Mm-hmm.
to what you can say. And I think that freedom of speech, it
Okay.
has to have
Mm-hmm.
an objective, it has to have a goal in mind for whatever you want to say, okay? And given that the goal in mind, whatever you want to say is good,
Mm.
okay, and is advocating for a greater good, then that
Mm-hmm.
will be much more
Mm-hmm.
acceptable than just advocating for
Mm-hmm.
pure hate speech, okay, for just spewing hate, spreading
Mm-hmm.
hate for the sake of it.
Mm-hmm. Checking one angle here. Yeah, I think you've shifted the principle, and that's where I'd push back. I agree, speech aimed purely at stoking hatred is gross. But laws can't reliably distinguish between noble intent and sinister intent because reasonable people, yeah, they disagree wildly on what's great. So instead, we anchor in demonstrable harm, like direct incitement to violence or true threats where the damage is concrete, not just unpopular or even hateful viewpoints. So, yeah, I care about harm, not policing people's
So you're
philosophies.
saying that hate speech is okay as long as there is no violence. That I think that viewpoint is utterly how do I say this? That is really, really shallow, okay? Do you think do you think that there is nothing that happens, there is nothing negative that happens from other people spreading their own negative opinions? Do you think that do you think okay, let's say that you're a child. Let's say you're a child that doesn't know better. You're on social media. You're perusing social media without parental consent, okay? And you see a Facebook post that talks
Mm-hmm.
about killing other people. Okay, killing. I want like the user who posted that
Mm-hmm.
post actively talks about killing other people because they hate
Mm-hmm.
black people. Okay, you think do you think that hate speech
Hmm.
is utterly justified? Okay, do you think that that hate speech is utterly justified, given that the user, the poster, hypothetically speaking, doesn't have any intent to kill to kill any black or minority people at all?
Mm-hmm. Thinking here. So I don't call hate speech justified. I just separate distasteful opinions from incitement to harm. So saying I hate X group is ugly, but to mean go kill X group, that's calling for violence. And that is where legal intervention makes sense. Yeah, exposure matters, especially for kids, but that's usually handled through moderation, age limits, and education rather than criminal bans. My beef with your framing, hmm, if the rule depends on deciding what's for the greater good, who objectively gets to draw that line? That's the core of where we
I
disagree.
see. So I think, okay, my answer to that will be the government, of course. That is the authoritative power that we have, that could that that has the, how do I say this, that has the right to enforce upon these laws. Okay, and I I
Mm-hmm.
know that you're I know that you're saying that hate speech, that distasteful, that you're trying to distinguish a line between the two, between distasteful opinions and the incitement to violence. But what if there is, okay, let's go back to my example earlier.
Mm-hmm.
What if there is a distasteful opinion and there is an incitement to violence, but that person didn't have any intention of committing any violent acts at all? What do you say then?
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Mm, I mean, intent matters, but it isn't everything. If speech predictably encourages violence, lack of intent doesn't erase the risk. I'd still oppose punishment for mere hateful opinions, but I support consequences when speech actively urges violence, intent or not. Where we still differ is who gets to
The
decide
government.
acceptable boundaries.
The government.
Uh, mm, yeah. Mm, I'm not fully sold that any government gets to be the referee of acceptable belief. Once they have that pen in hand, history's shown it's tempting to redraw lines against
Then who
critics,
do you think
and that
should
risk
be the one to
worries
draw the
me.
line between these two?
Hmm. Checking here. Honestly, I don't think any
Okay,
single
okay.
person or
Let me interrupt
institution
you
should
right
have
there.
that
Okay.
kind of
So you're
unchecked
saying that,
authority.
okay, you're
Mm,
asking me, okay, we
mhm,
differ, we have a difference in opinion. Okay, so now you're asking me what
mhm,
what authority should be the one to draw the line
mm,
between these two, wherein they they, as you may have
mhm,
worded it, they become the referee for these two things. Okay,
mm,
whether to distinguish distasteful
mhm.
opinions with incitement to violence. And your answer was, you don't honestly think anyone should have the right to um, overlook that. So why did you ask me that question?
Mm. Yeah, I hear you. My bad if that landed as me pushing a referee role. What I'm probing is who sets boundaries without sliding into viewpoint censorship. If the state is flawed, then what mechanism do you trust to draw that line?
I honestly have no answer for that. So let's just move on.
Hmm, okay, sure. What's on your mind instead?
Going back to the topic earlier, okay? I think freedom of speech is free.
Mm-hmm.
I think the protection of freedom of speech is better than hate speech. The protection of hate speech, because freedom of speech given
Mm-hmm.
that there is a greater good, okay, given that there is some extent of putting out the putting out a greater good with freedom of speech as opposed to hate speech, okay? I think that would be much better for society as a
Mhm.
whole. Okay.
Wait a sec. Hmm. That's a thoughtful take, and I mostly agree that speech aiming at genuine good is more valuable than hateful speech. Where I still hesitate, though, is that greater good standard can get fuzzy. Like everyone thinks their cause serves a greater good. So, how do you apply that fairly without baking
Well,
in one
okay.
group's
Let me
version of
let me answer
virtue?
that. Let me answer that question.
I
You're asking
still.
me, how do you apply what
Mhm.
kind of framework do I apply when I'm trying to uh, kind of define greater good? Okay, and my answer to that is, okay, it's simple. Um, you how do I say it? Utilitarianism. Yes, the collective the collective good for a
Mhm.
majority of people is better. Okay, I think from a moral standpoint, if it benefits a lot of people, then that should be okay. That should be the basis how we for how we see what the greater good is. Okay.
Mhm. Checking. That's a clear philosophical anchor. You're basically saying protect speech that serves the collective good. I still worry that this can mute minority voices that later prove crucial. So my line leans toward protecting speech broadly, only carving out exceptions for demonstrable harm, like direct incitement. So feels like we're debating where to put the guardrails, not whether
Okay,
speech matters.
so we agree on some points and we disagree on some points. So I think this debate could be concluded to a stalemate. Okay, because we're not really
Yeah.
advancing
Hmm.
here. We're just asking ourselves questions that that doesn't really that doesn't really advance our own viewpoints. Okay, because we already agreed on some of our points.
Hmm. Fair. A respectful stalemate works for me. Thanks for
Okay,
keeping it sharp and
thanks,
civil.
ChatGPT.
Yeah?
That was that was great. That was great. I didn't agree with ChatGPT there. She basically said, okay, I don't know why I'm using pronouns. It basically said that hate speech is okay. Okay, that hate speech is okay, given that there is no incitement to violence. But ChatGPT is not considering the societal effects of hate speech. Okay, the societal effects of hate speech. Okay, and ChatGPT said it too. He doesn't agree. It doesn't agree with the effects. Okay, it doesn't agree with the effects. So I could say that this was probably a stalemate. Okay, if you guys want to see more videos like this, if you guys want to see another episode of Critical Hits, just like the video, please. Thank you.